Reptom Green here. This is the third video in a series about my game Roller Derby Final Jams, and this one we're going to do a watch it played. So while the game is played in 3 jams, we're probably only going to play 1 jam for this demonstration. I have John and Rachel with me today, and they played the game before. From John and the blue team's perspective, his blue jammer, Lightning, is going against the blockers Tank, Pain for You, Ghost, and Shock and Awe. And from Rachel on the red team, her jammer Quicksilver is going to go against the blue blockers Basher, Punisher, Cyclone, and Rocket. There's a video on the rules, and there was a second video that was done which compared the game to the actual sport of roller derby. So before we get started, let me mention that we did do some pre-setup. Randomly we put 4 of the action discs in for each of the 3 jams that will be split up based on who becomes the lead jammer. And with that said, let's go ahead and start the first jam. So we turn up, the whistle blows, we turn over the first card, it's 2 minutes. The first thing we have to do is decide who is the lead jammer. We start rolling the dice. You can go 1, 2, 3, go. And they're both trying to get 4 stars. Whoever gets 4 stars, thematically, it's the equivalent to having passed a blocker. So Rachel has passed 2. John has now passed 2 of his blockers. Now he's passed 3. Rachel's still working on her second one. John's trying to get that last blocker passed. He does it. Okay. So John has become the lead jammer and grabs the little ref pointing to his jammer. And now we split up these discs. So one of the rewards for being the lead jammer is that he chooses 1 disc. He picks a yellow disc, Rachel picks a red disc, John picks a red, and Rachel takes the last disc. Okay, so that's what's covered on this first card. So the next thing we do is we flip over the timer. 1 minute and 40 seconds left in this jam. The jammers having made it all the way around the track, and the very first thing we do is we close our eyes and reach into the little bowl, and they pick 1 disc to add to their pool of resources. Now, probably in the real game you'd be using a draw bag, but it'll be easier to use the bowl for the purposes of this. So the next thing that we do is we check to see whether or not there is a jammer under the C card. There are. Both jammers are under the C card. So the lead jammer takes the jammer cards, and the blockers take this, and they're going to do basically an asymmetrical version of rock, paper, scissors. John is deciding whether his jammer is going to go up the center, or to the right, or to the left, and once he's committed, he can just put his card down in front, and then Rachel has decided where her blockers are. We reveal that. Okay. So we're going to stop the action for a minute and look at this in a little bit more detail. There's 9 combinations that can be formed from pairing up a choice where the jammer is going and where the blockers primarily are lined up on the track. And in each case, the players can see what the potential payout or reward would be. If the blocking is done on the outside and the jammer comes up on the inside, there will be 3 blockers passed. Okay, so John decided to take his jammer up the center. She blocked to the inside, so he passes 2, 1, 2, and is working on the 3rd blocker. Now we reverse these. Rachel takes the jammer cards. We do the same thing. What does her jammer do as she comes up from behind the pack? Is she going to go to the inside, to the center, or to the outside? Once she decides, she'll lay her card out. John has committed his blockers to one of the 3 directions. All right, we turn them over, we compare them, and so she went to the center, he blocked to the outside, she passes 1 for free. Okay, so we set these cards aside for now, and the next thing we do is we look at the icons on the 1 minute 40-second card, and it shows that icons for rolling dice. So the very first thing they can do is they can decide to allocate some of their disc if they want to. Otherwise, they begin rolling their dice. So John has decided, they both decided to spend 1 of the red discs, and they're rolling. Now this can all take place simultaneously, as you noted.
Let's go. Need 1
okay,
more.
I finished mine.
All right,
Finished mine too.
All right, so they both have passed the blocker, and now that red disc goes into the pool. All right, and they start fresh with the next rolling. John gets a skull that he needs. Rachel gets a skull that she needs.
Stars.
Oh, all right. Now John has a decision to make. He has failed. Will he spend 2 of those yellow discs for a free roll? Will he go for dirty skating, or will he just stop?
I'm gonna spend 2 yellow.
All right.
My
So,
free roll.
I got mine, so I'm going to keep going.
all right.
All right, now I get to
Nothing.
decide. I'm going to dirty skate.
All right.
Oh.
So did you fail at
Do I fail?
dirty skating, John, or did you?
No, I'm going to dirty skate now.
All right.
Failed at dirty skating.
All right. So because of that, one of her dice is unavailable to her, and she goes to the penalty box. And John
Me
has the
too.
same problem. Okay. So their turns in at that point. Whatever progress they've made, dice or disc are left on these cards. So now what we do is we turn over the card. And again, at the top of the turn, the first thing to do is they close their eyes and grab a disc, add it to the pool of resources of action disc. All right, a yellow, a white. Okay. Now the next thing you do is they look to see whether or not their jammer is below the C card. It's not. It's not on either side, so we don't do anything with these cards. And they proceed with die rolling. Of course, excluding the ones that are in the penalty box. They were both looking to get a star. Neither one of they have. Now, because they don't have a dice to the die is already in the penalty box. They don't have an extra one in their hand. You have to have at least 2. They cannot do dirty skating. So their turn is over. But at the end of the turn, the die in the penalty box moves forward from the second chair. In this case, to the first chair, if you will. And now we flip a card over. Okay, they close their eyes. They pull another action disc, adding it to their pool of resources. Okay, the next thing, nobody's under the C card, so we move to the last step, which is rolling the die. All right, neither one of them hits the red.
Can I put in 2?
She can put 2 blue discs in and roll again. Nope, still
I'm gonna put in
fails.
2 as well.
All right.
Ah,
Ooh, he gets
nice.
what he needs. Okay, so he's successful. Now, in this situation, John doesn't have any white discs to use for the whip, but he takes the dice back into his hand. His turn is over, and his jammer goes to the Z card. But first, he'll record the 4 points on his scorecard, and his jammer then goes to below the A card, and his turn is over. Now, in your case, you didn't get what you needed, so your turn is over, but that moves back in your hand. Okay, so yes, and then that's back in your hand. Okay, so now we flip over another card. There is 1 minute and 10 seconds left in this jam. All right, first thing, you reach in, you grab a disc. All right, the next thing, is there anyone on the C card? No. Then we do roll in a dice, or in the case of John, he simply moves his jammer to the B card. His turn is over. Now Rachel is rolling. She gets what she needs. She passes that 3rd blocker and she's on to the 4th. Okay, she picks up all the dice. She gets a skull. And every time you're able to cover either with a die or a disc, you keep rolling for free. She didn't. She could play 2 yellow ones. She could do dirty skating.
Do dirty skating.
All right, she's going right to dirty skating. All she needs is to get 1. Oh, but she failed. Okay, so when you fail at dirty skating, something goes to the penalty box.
I'm going to
Oh,
pay these 2.
all right, so she pays to basically get the die back into her hand, but her turn is still over. Okay, so she stops here at the end of that, 1 minute and 10 seconds. He had proceeded from the A to the B card. We flip the next card over. It's card number 6 as we count down. 1 minute left in this 2-minute jam. All right, they picked the disc. Do we have anybody in the C card? No, not yet, but John's almost there. Okay, so John's whole move is to move to C. Rachel's trying to get past her last blocker. She rolls. She needs stars and only stars. She could turn into disc, or she could go directly to dirty skating.
I'll do dirty skating.
All right.
Got one.
Yay! And once you are successful with a roll, she's back to just regular free rolling. All right, so now again, the decision.
Dirty skate.
Dirty skating. Ooh,
Yes.
and she gets it. She
Got
gets the
it.
star. Okay, so she will add 4 points to her total. It's now tied 54 to 54. And because she has a white disc, she can get a minor whip and take her jammer directly to the B card. It stops there. All right. So John's a little bit ahead. We flip over the next card. Counting down. There's only 50 seconds left in the jam. All right. So now, we close your eyes, pick a disc. All right. And we look to see if anyone is below the C card. In this case, John is and only John, so he'll take the jammer cards. Whoops, sorry. He'll take the blocker cards. Okay. Again, he has to decide. Basically, rock, paper, scissors. Is he going to go inside, outside, or up the center with his jammer? And Rachel decides where her blockers will congregate. He picks the
And I
outside.
block
She
him.
blocks him. So we take these cards and set them aside. He does not get past anybody and will be proceeding with the first blocker.
I'll
All
move
right.
To C.
And Rachel moves her jammer to C, and her turn is over. So next turn she'll do these cards. Okay, so it's still John's turn. He's going to. He's
Pay a
decided
white.
he's paying a white to cover one of the skulls, and before he starts rolling, then he rolls.
Nothing.
All right,
I'm gonna do dirty skating.
all right,
Yes.
and he gets both skulls he needs. So the white disc goes into the bank, if you will, or the bowl, and he picks up the disc and proceeds. So
Oh,
what? Oh,
Got everything I
got
needed.
past everything. Okay. He's on to the third. He's just flying past all these blockers.
okay, just need a red star.
Doesn't get it.
Nope. I'm gonna try dirty skating one more time.
All right.
Oh,
Oh, it didn't work out for you. Now, because he was the lead jammer and failed at dirty skating, even though he has the yellow disc, he gives up the lead jammer referee pointing to him, and he doesn't have that ability anymore. Where in the next couple cards that are coming up, he would have been able to stop the jam early. So he gave that up, he risked it, and it didn't play out good for him. But in this case, you probably want to pay one yellow one, I'm assuming. All right, so that means that
Dice will just.
your dice just goes to the second chair instead of all the way to the end. Okay, so we turn over a card. We both close our eyes and draw a disc. All right,
Okay.
and then we look to see if anyone's a seat. Now this time Rachel is, so she will take the jammer cards and decide where her jammer is going, coming up with momentum from behind the pack. Outside, inside, down the center. What will it be? No one knows. Certainly John doesn't know, but he thinks he does. She, go ahead, you can both turn them over. She's going, oh, he went to the inside, she went to the outside, so she passes two. 1 and 2, and working on the third one. Okay, so she's catching up. And we did the C card, so the next thing is to start rolling the dice. Or, in this case, did you want to play your white disc on the skull by any chance?
No.
Okay, so she's going to hold that for the whip. Okay, so she's just rolling the dice.
Didn't make it.
All right, you can't do dirty skating. You could turn in the blue and the white one if you wanted to
I got
for
mine.
a free roll.
Yes, in fact, I will do that.
I
Okay.
got mine.
Okay.
So moving on.
Oh, red star.
All right, so now your turn is over.
Ooh, 2 red stars and a skull.
Ooh.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Z, but I'm going to turn in 1 disc
All right.
so I can do
Whip all the way to B.
Yep.
Now add 4 more points on your score. She's at 58. John is on the scoreboard 54, but he has passed 2 of them already. So your turn ended. So I think we had moved this, so it does go back in your hand. Okay, so go ahead and flip the next card. All right, only 30 seconds left in this jam. All right, close your eyes. Take an action disc. All right.
Okay.
Oh,
And you are going to move to C and stop.
One red star. Okay.
He gets it.
Got it. Go to there. You know, I'm going to pay one of these reds,
Okay,
because I haven't rolled against her yet.
right?
And didn't get it. I'm going to do dirty skating.
I see a
Got
star.
both of them.
All right.
So I move to Z.
Now you don't have any white ones to
Pick
turn in,
white.
so you will go to the A card, but you add 4 more points on yours, and now the score is tied, though Rachel is a little further ahead. All right, 58 to 58. Flip over a card. There's only 2 more left. 20 seconds. Close your eyes. Pick a disc.
Ooh, that one.
All right.
So now we do
And you are moving to B and end. You are going to use the jammer cards. There. Blocker cards. Okay. And she has decided to go to the inside. He blocks to the center. In this case, she passes one. So she's working on the second one. All right. And so we did that. So we now go to rolling the dice. But you've done your full.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
Now it's interesting, this situation. Next turn, John will only be able to move to the C card. Here's where, had he not lost this lead jammer thing, he could have called off the jam. Unfortunately, because it's impossible for him to score. He's just too far behind the pack. Okay. Rachel's
So
continuing.
does he move to C now?
On this turn,
Oh, okay.
he just moved to B.
Mm-hmm.
All right. She just needs a white skull. She gets it.
Okay.
All right.
Moving on. I'm gonna put one of these reds down
All right.
and one of the whites.
Okay.
Actually-
yeah, that you won't be able to do the whip anyway because the jam's about to end, so
Okay.
it's not going to help you. Might as well go ahead and do it. All right.
I'm gonna dirty skate.
Okay.
Yes.
And she gets it. Okay. And then she would move to the A card. This goes back in your hand. These would get paid back into this. All right. So at the beginning of the next turn, we'll just go through the motions, but there's really not much of that. We turn over the last card. So really, in this
Do we
case,
add our points?
you should have added 4 more to yours, having passed those blockers. So John only gets to C. Your jammer will only move to B, and that's as far as you can go. And then the whistle blows. You can go ahead and move to B just for grins. And that's all the action for So if we were going to do another jam, which I don't think is necessary for the purposes of this demonstration, we basically would start with the jammers at C, and we would roll those dice again to see if they get who gets the 4 stars first for lead jammer, and we would split up this randomly selected distribution. And the resources that they had, in this case, Rachel had 2 yellows. She would just add to those, so whatever carries over from one jam to the next. So I hope you enjoyed this little demonstration and have a good idea of how quickly it plays, and the fact that there's very little downtime because you're playing basically simultaneously. That's the word I'm looking for. Simultaneously for the entire game. All right, thank you. Rev Tom Green here for a little bit of post-game commentary. First, I hope that what you saw looked interesting. If you are in roller derby, whether it's a skater, volunteer, referee, in any capacity, what you can do to help promote this product is simply to tell your friends about the video, go on Facebook, share the video, like it. If you happen to be a board gamer and you're on Board Game Geek, a website where I'm at, there's more information about this game, and you can leave comments there. You can find more information about it, etc. So let's talk about the possibilities of playing this game or purchasing a copy. Well, if you're in the Dallas area, you might run into me. I will be at BGG-Con, so come November of 2016. So look for me in my ref shirt. Oh, I'm definitely bringing the game. Concerning purchasing, well, there's only the one copy. It's just a prototype, and while the game has been in development for a couple of years, I'm looking toward finding a publisher rather than doing a Kickstarter myself, simply because I think realistically we can keep the price down and the quality up if somebody knows what they're doing and they can do a large print run, which simply I just don't have the experience in doing. So concerning how long it takes to play the game, in the demonstration that you saw, it took about 16.5 minutes to play the single jam. Had John stopped the jam early, then we might have shaved off another minute and a half. So another thing to consider when 2 people sit down to play this game is if they want a short game, they could just agree up front that they're just going to do a sudden death and play a single jam, and then they'll be over in 15 or 20 minutes, excluding the few minutes it takes to do the setup. Normally you would play the full 3 jams, but it's certainly not a requirement. For those that want a more enriched experience and can take a little bit longer, you could either play more jams. There's nothing that keeps you from saying, we'll play 5 or 6 or 7 or more jams and call that a game. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it's certainly possible. And finally, there are advanced versions of the rules that allow for things like player substitution between jams. There's fatigue that's taking place. The closing your eyes and choosing the disc is replaced with a rondelle. And those details are covered in a different video. So you can look for that as well. In short, I hope you've enjoyed this, and if whether you're in roller derby or you're just a game reviewer, or whether or not you perhaps know a publisher personally, if this looks like a good fit for them, by all means pass the word.